Okay, so let's first take a look at the companies that you chose. Monde Nissan, Century Pacific Food. Okay. Century Pacific Food, may ano ba sila? May mga products similar to Monde Nissan. Check nyo ha, kasi kung iba, guys, kunyari Monde Nissan, I know nasa snacks sila, no, foods. I'm not sure about Century Pacific kung meron. Kasi kung tuna to, yung tuna, tapos ito, biscuits or snacks, then they will not be direct competitors. Kasi although nasa food sila, pero paano magiging competitor yung food at saka yung kunyari biscuits, snacks as compared to tuna. So, paki-check guys ha. LBC, to go, it's okay. Pure Gold, Merrimart, okay. Yung Merrimart, ito yung ano, no, yung sa kay Villar, yung sa Vista, di ba? Tama ba? Merrimart, Jollibee, Shakey's, GSM Emperador, okay. Globe, PLDT, pero tingnan nyo guys ha, kasi medyo mahirap ano to, mahirap yung FS nito, no? It will be very difficult to analyze this. URC, SM, okay. All right. So remember guys, the deadline will be on Friday. Okay. Ito, I suggest that you look for another company. I'm not recommending that you go to Globe and Smart, no? Pero kung if you feel na kaya nyo i-analyze yung FS, then okay lang. No? Okay. All right. So let's now take a look at the exercise that we had last time. Okay. So I think we left off on question number 9. Okay, tinatanong natin doon kung ano ba yung what were those. Ang question is, okay, we were given this, no? Let me go to the questions. So sabi, following numbers were computed by a company to determine if a project is acceptable or not. No, year 0, 10,000. Year 1, 5, 4, 4, 1, 1. Okay? What do these values represent? The answer here is, para natin magamit to analyze, hindi siya net income, hindi siya profit, hindi siya returns. No? This should be cash flows. This figure should be cash flows for us to be able to analyze if the project is feasible or not. If they're not cash flows, for example, if they're net income after tax, then we will have to convert them first into cash flows in order for us to be able to use the values to determine if they are viable or not, feasible or not. Okay, then number 10, tingnan muna natin yung answer niyo guys. Okay, so 1 answered net present value. It's not actually net present value kasi net present value, result na yan ng, ng pag-compute ng dun sa cash flows. Okay, so hindi siya net present value. Pag sinabi net present value, isang value lang yan. And it's determined by doing something, no? By computing something. Okay, so year 0% minimum acceptable hurdle rate, no? Year 0 guys, yung amount yun, hindi hurdle rate yan. Diba? Ang hurdle rate guys is your weighted average cost of capital, and it's not a number. No? Well, it's a number, but it's usually in terms of a percentage. 10% kasi return siya. The hurdle rate is a return. No? Okay, year to 5 represents the returns. No, they're not the returns of the company. They are, sabi natin, cash flow siya. No? Okay, this group, profit, okay, initial investment, okay. Okay, so they're not actually profits, they're cash flows. No? So they're cash flows. Tapos ito, initial investment, but generated, and then, okay, pero dito hindi sinabi kasi kung ano ba talaga siya, no? So na-skirt yung term, I was looking for cash flows. Invested and earned. Ito earned din no? They are actually cash inflows, no? Kasi pag earned, hindi siya clear kung net profit ba yan. Okay? Okay, it should have been cash flows. Yun ang hinahanap ko na word, guys. No? Net cash flows, okay lang. I accepted this. Cash flows, this is okay. The values represents returns. So hindi siya, pero sinabi naman dito cash flows, kaya tinanggap ko to. No? Okay, cash flows. Okay? And then the given payback, net cash flow. Okay, so I also accepted this kasi basta nakita ko yung cash flow, tinanggap ko na yung answer. Okay, so as to the last question, guys, ang sabi dito, okay, should we invest based on the figures given in number 9, ano? Okay, let's take a look at your answers. One group answered no because the value increases over time and negative present value should be avoided. Okay, so may sinabi dito na importante, negative net present value. That's true, kaso hindi ko ma-discern kung paano nalaman kung negative net present value. Kasi ang ano nito, the way I read it, the negative net present value came from this, the decreasing of the value over time. Okay, so let's keep that in mind, no? Ito, we would not invest on it, profit at 50%. Okay, saan nagaling itong profit na 50%? Kasi yung initial investment is 10,000. Okay, let me just show that. So meron tayong initial investment na 10,000, di ba? Negative 10,000. Tapos for the first year, 5,000, 4,000, 4,000, 1,000, 1,000. Pag inad nga naman natin, guys, 15,000 yung returns natin, 10,000 yung initial investment, ang difference sila, 5,000. So we gained 5,000. So 5,000 divided by initial investment of 10,000, okay, that gives us a return of 50%. Okay. Mathematically, okay, tama naman sinabi dito, there was a return of 50%. But we will, sabi dito, minimum acceptable. Okay, ito guys, minimum acceptable hurdle rate. The 10,000 is not a hurdle rate. Tandaan yan, guys, ha? Ang hurdle rate, it's a rate of return. So, dapat makikita 10%, 12%. So, 10,000 is the cash flow, cash outflow, in fact, or the initial investment in cash. Okay? Which is lesser than the hurdle rate. But wala akong binigay na hurdle rate dito. No? So, I don't know where this was coming from. Okay, so we have to be very specific and precise about our terms, no? Yung 10,000, guys, hindi siya hurdle rate, okay? Tapos, lesser than the risk hurdle rate, yung WACC, wala naman akong binigay na WACC. No? Okay, so, itong other group answer, yes, we should invest because may 50% din. So, ganun din sinagot nila, no? Okay, and ito, break-even point, third year. Okay, it's good because binanggit nito ng group na to yung break-even daw. So, na-recover after 3 years. So, let me show that. Saan ba nanggaling yung sinabi ng group na to? Okay, so 10,000, 544, it's only on the third year na na-recover nila yung 10,000. Kasi kung accumulate natin, 5,000, 4,000, between the second and the third year, okay, na-recover yung 4,000 ulit. So, this is already 13,000. So, na-recover yung full amount na initial investment ng 10,000 after the, between the second and the third year. Okay, so this makes sense because we'll discuss if this is correct or not. Okay, so yes daw kasi nag-break even on the third year. That's very important. Pero i-discuss natin kung ganun ba dapat yung magiging basis natin. Ito naman, no, because it has produced positive net cash flow. We will not invest. It has produced positive net cash flow in the last 4 years. Pero ang sinasabi dito yung cash flows daw, it's decreasing over time. Okay? As an investor, it's very risky to put capital in a project like this cash flow. Okay, very volatile and end up in the negative. Okay, this is a good answer, pero i-evaluate natin, guys, kung ano, kung tama yung answer na to. No? So ito sinasabi niya na produce positive net cash flow. I surmise that Yung mga 5,411, no? Positive net cash flow yon. Pag net natin dun sa 10,000, positive 5,000 siya. Pero yung trend daw, bumababa. No? So, very volatile daw. And end up in the negative. Hindi ko alam kung bakit in the negative. Kasi, ang net cash flow naman natin, positive. No? Okay, how about this? Even if year zero had an outflow, tama? Kasi talagang ano yan guys, zero kasi investment yan, no? Hindi naman pwedeng yung yung investment natin lahat positive. So walang ganun na investment. Saan tayo makakakuha ng isang investment na wala tayong cash outflow? No such thing guys in the real world, no? Talagang may lalabas at lalabas na initial investment. Year 1 to 5 had consistent cash inflow, okay? So ito naman ang sinasabi na yes kasi may negative na cash outflow sa simula pero yung the rest 1 to 5 positive na silang lahat. Okay, tapos ito cash inflows are greater by 5,000. Okay, ito yung sinabi natin kanina, in-add yung cash inflows 15,000 compared with the 10,000 initial investment. So nga naman may 5,000 na neto, no? Okay, break even na siya, sabi, on the third year. So ito, kinumbine nila. This is a very complete answer. Thank you to the group who answered this. No? Very complete answer. 2,000 from year 3, 1, year 4, year 5 are positive cash inflows. Or, sinasabi nito, sa third year, na-recover na yung 10,000. So, yung 4,000 sa third year, 2,000 doon, na-recover na yung 10,000 investment. Pakita natin ha. This is what this group is saying. So 5,000, 4,000, 9,000 yan. Dito, kailangan na lang nila ng 1,000. Okay, so although nagkamali sila doon, dapat 3,000 na lang yung 1,000 to recover the initial investment. So yung remaining dito na 3,000, 1,000, 1,000, sabi nila, profit na yan. Okay? Over and above na yan dun sa initial investment. Okay, so that's what the group was saying. No? Okay, so ito, although the project is proven to be valid since payback niya 2.25 years. Okay, so ito, that's good. May computation lang ng payback period. No? Inappropriate nila yung remaining. No? Okay, so pakita ko na lang din yun guys, although i-discuss natin to later. No? Paano nila nakuha yung 2.25? Okay, yung 2.25 na yan, okay, sa third year, ilan na lang ba yung cash na, na kailangan para ma-recover yung 10,000? Anyone, please? On the third year, how much cash flow is needed in order to recover the 10,000.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Good morning po. They only need 1,000 more po
Yeah, correct.
to recover yung 10,000.
Correct. Thank you, John. Thank you, Timothy. Your answers are correct. 1,000 na lang kailangan, no? That's good, no? Bakit 1,000? Kasi dito 9,000 na, di ba? Yung first 2 years. So ang kailangan na lang dito 1,000. So what the group did was is equal to 1,000 na lang kailangan and they divide it by the total cash flow on the third year. So here they're assuming that the cash flows are generated uniformly throughout the period. So ang kailangan na lang 1,000 out of 4,000. So that gives us 0.25. Okay? So kailan ma-recover yung funds? First year, second year, and then 0.25 of the third year. So that's 2.25. So that's where they got the answer. Ito, 2.25 years. Okay, very good for this group. Kasi napakita nila sa atin kung ano yung payback period, no? Okay, so this is the regular payback period and positive cash flow of 1,000 per year. Okay, if the 1,000 per year, it would still be to invest in the project because, okay, kaso ang sabi nila dito na decline daw yung cash flow. Ultimately, it's up to the investor whether they deem the project is valid or not. Okay. So, ang kagandahan guys ng finance, may mga benchmarks tayo, may mga may mga guiding principles. So hindi lang sa whim ng ano, no? Hindi lang sa whim ng investor. Kasi sabi nga natin, limang managers dun sa room. Pag pinagana natin yung ano nila, yung sentiment nila, yung perception nila, baka magkakaroon tayo ng ano, ng iba't ibang answers. But finance has a science behind it. Okay? So mayroon tayong principle na pwedeng i-gamitin to assess whether this project is feasible or not. Okay. Unfortunately, walang nakakuha dun sa sa diniscuss natin, ano? Okay. Some of you said that ang cash outflow, ang cash inflow, ang net is 5,000. Kasi meron tayong 5,000, 54411, inad natin to 15,000, initial investment 10,000, ang net natin 5%, 5,000. Okay? Okay, that quote unquote acceptable. Kung hindi natin papairalin yung finance. Okay? Ano pang sinabi ng iba? Ang sabi pa ng iba, no, kasi nagdi-decline yung cash flow. Okay? It's very sound, no? Kasi syempre, inisip mo, bumababa yung cash flow natin, so malamang no yan. Okay? Ang iba naman ang sabi, ang ROI is 50%. Kasi 5,000 yung net cash flow divided by the initial investment of 10,000. So you have 50% return on the investment. Okay. So these are from a layman's perspective valid siya. Okay, but they're not valid, guys, if you're taking a look at it from a finance perspective. Bakit? Hey, number one, guys. This one, by adding itong mga cash flows na to, we get 15,000. This is fundamentally wrong as far as finance is concerned. Kasi si 5,000, guys, kailan natin makukuha yan? After 1 year. Si 4,000 after 2 years, si 3,000 after 3 years, etc. Okay? Since they belong to different time periods, okay, we cannot add them. So bawal sila i-sum up kasi, remember guys, ang principle, yung time value of money. No? Time value of money, hindi natin sila pwedeng i-add kasi may mga cost of money. So ang 5,000 after 1 year, hindi siya pwedeng i-add sa 4,000 after 2 years. Okay? So what has to be done? Nabanggit kanina yung net present value. That's what has to be done. No? Kaso ang question kanina doon, ano ba itong mga to? The answer is these are cash flows. Okay? Kung net income yung binigay sa inyo, hindi nyo pwedeng gamitin yon to evaluate the project. You will have to convert them into cash flows. Okay? So if we look at this, okay, i-drawing ko lang yung cash flows. 3, 4, 5. Suppose we have this timeline. No? So sa year 0 daw, ang sabi, meron tayong initial investment na 10K. Sa year 1, positive 5. Year 2, 4. Then 4. Then 1. Then 1. Okay. Now, what's the fundamental flow if we add them? Magkakaibang period sila. So, ang ginagawa dapat dyan, guys, kailangan natin i-convert itong 5 na to after 1 year. I-convert dapat natin lahat ng mga cash flows na to into one common time. So the usual practice is we convert them into year 0 or we convert them into year 5. Pwede rin naman i-convert sa year 1, year 2, it doesn't matter actually. You'll get the same answer. But the standard practice is you convert itong 5,000 na to, how much is that now? Kasi si year 0 now yan times 0. Itong 4,000, which is 4,000 in 2 years time, iba yung value niya ngayon. Okay? Ang tanong, magkano yung si 4,000, okay, ngayon? Itong 4,000 after 3 years, magkano siya ngayon? Si 1,000 after 4 years, magkano siya ngayon? How much now? 1,000 after 5 years, how much is it now? Okay? So what we're doing is we're actually getting what we call present values. Bakit present values? Kasi kinukuha natin equivalent value niya now, present. Okay, so how is it done? So pag kinuha natin yung present values na yan, saka natin siya i-compare sa 10,000. So if we add all of this, guys, yung 10,000, si 10,000, pwede ba siya natin i-add, guys? Question. Si negative 10,000, pwede ba natin siyang i-combine dun sa iba? Answer please sa chat. Can we combine, guys, yung negative 10,000 dun sa ibang cash flow na to? Ito. Can we combine it? Jillian? No. Bakit no, Jillian? I mean, ito na. Ito, no? Ito mga...
No. Pwede na po sa present value po,
Yes,
pero
okay.
we need to find the equivalent pa po.
Oo. Yung kanina hindi, no? So, ang sinasagot ni Jillian, yung kanina hindi. But ang sabi ni Jillian, yung ngayon, yung na-convert na into present value, pwede na. So, si negative 10,000 plus whatever these values are, okay? Whatever these values are, guys, since na-convert na natin siya into present value, pag kinumbine na natin siya, guys, may tawag dyan. Ito yung sinabi ng isang group kanina. Ang tawag dyan is your, it's called now your NPV, your net present value. Okay. Now, that's the way to do it. Hindi yung feel natin, hindi yung sentiment natin. This is a scientific way in order to determine whether this project is feasible or not. So, kahit sino mag-compute niyan, guys, kahit na yung marketing manager or yung HR manager, they'll come up with the same answer. Kasi this is a science, eh. And there's a reason for that. Kasi nga, yung concept ng pinanggagalingan niyan, yung time value of money concept. Hindi natin pwedeng i-add si 5,000, ito mga to, si 5, si 4, si 4, si 1, si 1. We cannot add them because they belong to different time frames. It's only by converting them or getting their equivalents on one specific time frame, saka natin siya i-add. Pwede bang gawin natin sila, i-peg natin sa year 3? Yes, pwede. Pwede. Pwede ba natin i-peg nila lahat sa year 5? Balik kukunin natin future values? Yes, pwede rin. Okay? But the practice, guys, is get the NPV. Okay? Kunin natin yung present value niya. Okay? Pag sinabing present value niya, yung ngayon, yung value ngayon. Okay? Now, in order to get the present value, kailangan natin dyan, guys, yung WACC. Kasi ito yung gagamitin natin in order to compute the present values. Okay? You cannot compute the present values without the return. Kasi may formula yan, no? Ang formula niyan, although hindi pa natin di-discuss to, no, sa time ano pa to. Present value is equal to the future value, okay, times 1 plus the return raised to the negative t. Okay, so that's a formula for your present value. You have your future value, yung 54411. Your R there, your required rate is your weighted average cost of capital. Okay? So yun ang gagawin natin, guys. So that's the answer to number 10. So ang kailangan ko makita nun is to convert the cash flows into their present values. That's how you determine, no? That's how. So we would not be able to. I would not be able to say I should not have seen an answer na okay yung investment kung after converting all the cash flows into its present values and then adding them up, you have a net present value that's positive. Pag yung net present value natin negative, then reject yung ano na yun. Reject yung project na yun. Okay? Alright. Yung isang answer kanina, guys, yung 50%, well, again, guys, hindi siya acceptable. Okay? Although in layman's term, 50%, that's correct, no? Kaso, again, paano natin nakuha itong 50% na to? Inadd natin lahat ng cash flows natin. Nakuha natin 15,000. Tapos sinubtract natin sa 10,000. Kaya natin nakuha itong 5,000. Again, guys, may fundamental flaw dito, FLAW. It violated the principle of time value of money kasi inadd natin yung mga cash flows. Kaya we could not have used the ROI, no? 50%. Okay? Kasi strictly speaking, violate na yung Yung time value of money concept. Okay, ano pa? Yung isa pang reason, guys, yung declining yung cash flows. Okay, so let me answer that. Declining cash flows. Kasi importanteng... Okay, sandali ah. Medyo ginugulol ako ng papi namin dito. Okay, so 15,000 guys yung net cash flow, di ba? Now, we should be very clear about this. No? What if, sabi nyo kasi declining, di ba? Paano kung ano? Instead of declining, naging reverse. So ito 1,000, ito 1,000, ito 4,000, ito 4,000, ito 5,000. Now this has both, kung ito total natin to 15, ito 15 din. No? Okay? But which is better? An increasing cash flows or a decreasing cash flows? What do you think, guys? Increasing or decreasing? Paki-chat nga, I want to see your answer, guys. Everyone, please. Increasing, okay, decreasing, okay, increasing, 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 okay, increasing, okay. So divided yung house, no? Some of you said that you would rather want an increasing cash flow compared, may iba sa inyo nagsabing decreasing. Mas konti yung decreasing. Okay? Let's see. John, bakit decreasing? Bakit ikaw lang yata naiiba na answer?
Time value of money. Pag mas marami ka nakuha ngayon, mas magagamit mo siya. Mas maganda.
Okay. Okay. So, thank you, John. No? So, tama si John, guys. Okay, when we look at cash flows, it's better to get a bigger cash flow now or closer to now. Kasi, when you get the present value of this, okay, mas malaki itong 5,000 na to. Mas malaki yung present value ng 5,000 in 1 year's time compared to 5,000 in 5 years' time. Okay, so ganun yung concept, guys. The further you are from year 0, the lower will be your present value. So kunyari kung nasa 100 years na yan, imagine, kaya balik tayo dun sa ano natin, sa question natin. Ano mas gusto nyo? 1 million after 1 year or 1 million after 10 years? Sino mas pipili nyo, guys? Sige nga, guys. What do you prefer? 1 million nyo after 1 year nyo pa makukuha o yung 1 million after 10 years? Hindi na after 1 year. No? Ang question ko dyan, after 1 year. Okay? So ano mas gusto nyo? Yung 1 million makukuha nyo after 1 year or 1 million after 10 years? Yeah, you're correct. No? Mas gusto nyo yung 1 million after 1 year na kaysa 1 million after 10 years. Diba? So you would want, kunyari pareho lang yung cash flows, no? Algebraically. Pareho lang yung amount niya. Mas gugustuhin nyo na mas makukuha nyo yung mas malaking cash flow, guys, sa simula pa lang. Okay? So it makes sense to have a bigger cash flows at the onset kaysa decreasing yung cash flow natin. Kasi kung pinuha natin yung present value niyan, habang lumalayo guys yung cash flow natin, lumiliit yung present value niyan. And sabi naman natin, ang decision natin is based on the NPV, net present value. The higher the net present value, the better. If the net present value is positive, go with the project, okay yung project. If the net present value is negative, reject the project. Okay? So yung net present value yan, guys, it will be dependent on the timing of the cash flows. Okay? So imagine, guys, if the bigger chunk of the cash flows are on the later years, that means increasing yung value ng cash flows natin, mas maliit yung net present value nun. Okay? So pag mas maliit yung net present value, ibig sabihin, mas hindi viable yung project. Okay? So I hope that's clear, guys. No? So kasi parang may, actually guys, marami natatempt talaga sa concept niya. No? Lumiliit yung ano natin, cash flows over time. So hindi yata maganda. No? So ito mas maganda kasi lumalaking cash flows natin. Okay? So that violates the principle of the time value of money. Okay? So sana naging clear sa atin yan, guys. So pag next time, tanong ko ulit ng ganyan, number 1, binigyan kayo ng figures sa net ng cash flows. Sabihin niyo muna, okay, convert muna natin yan sa cash na net income after tax pala. Sabihin muna natin, we need to convert this into cash flows first. Kasi ang principle sa finance, cash is king. So any project that we're going to evaluate should be based on cash flows. Pangalawa, hindi natin basta-basta maa-add yung cash flows na yan. Kasi may cost yung pera. Okay, so how do we add it? We have to convert it into an equivalent time frame. No? It can be year zero, usually it's year zero. And then we can add, pag ganun guys, so that will now be your net present value. Okay, pag na-add na natin lahat. And decision rule, if the net present value is positive, then okay yung project. If the net present value is negative, then reject the project. Okay? All right. Later on, guys, ibabanggitin natin yung another way to measure is what we call the IRR. IRR. Okay. Ito naman, internal return of the project. Okay. So we can compute the return of the project here. Kunyari, ang return niya 10%. Okay. So how do we determine whether, based on the IRR, this project is feasible? You will have to compare it with the WACC. Okay. Mag-iba guys yung WACC, mag-iba yung IRR. IRR is the return of the project itself. WACC is the cost of financing. So kunyari kung WACC is 12%, IRR, which is the return of the project, is 10%, what's your decision? Accept or reject the project? Paki-chat nga please. Paki-chat guys, everyone. Ulitin ko IRR, which is the return of the project, is 10%. Pero yung WACC natin, 12%. So, what do we decide? Accept the project or reject the project? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay? So, hindi pa ako guys nakakaano ng yung bang lalabas ang sunod-sunod lahat, yung halos lahat kayo. No? Sana ganun next time. Sana everyone participates. No? I would appreciate that. Okay, you're correct. It's reject the project. Kasi yung return ng project is less than the weighted average cost of capital. Okay? So, dapat yung IRR natin has to be more than 12% in order for the project to be feasible. Now, extra discussion, sometimes yung IRR at saka NPV nagko-conflict. Sometimes iba yung sinasabi ng decision. Okay, kunyari, ito nga yung return natin, 10%. WACC is 12%. Tapos NPV is, let's say, 5,000. Gawin natin, kunyari, ang NPV natin is, para example lang, kunyari, 3,950. Ito yung NPV natin. Example. So, based on NPV, accept the project kasi positive, no? Based on IRR, reject the project. So, if there's conflict between the IRR and the NPV, sino guys susundin? Sige nga, paki-chat guys. So, overall guys, reject the project or accept the project. NPV sabi, 3,950 yung NPV. So, okay yung project. IRR naman, 10%. So, reject the project. So, sino susundin ng company? Sino susundin ng firm? Okay, so, reject ba to? Reject. Or IRR, NPV. So, ang answer na lang, accept or reject. Sige. So, si Jillian, Catherine, most of you, okay. So, yung iba reject, may konting accept, no? Okay, sino pa? Reject. Okay. So, very good. Thank you guys for your participation. The answer is, reject the project is wrong. Nakuha niyo yun, guys? The answer is, reject the project. It's wrong. Gets it, guys? Gets? Kuha ba? Hello? Kuha ba? Paki-chat naman kung yes, kung nakuha niyo yung sinabi ko kanina. Mukhang nalito kayo. Ayan. Sige. Thank you, Jillian. Thank you, Manuel. No? So sabi ko, yung answer na reject the project, which is based on the IRR, is wrong. No? Bakit mali siya? No? Pag nagko-conflict guys si IRR at saka si NPV, laging sinusunod si NPV. Okay? Always. So the answer is accept the project. Push through with the project. Okay? So, hindi ko muna sasabihin kung bakit ang sinusunod si NPV. Kung sakali nagko-conflict lang, no? In case there's a conflict between NPV and IRR, we always choose the NPV because NPV is the more theoretically correct way to compute the feasibility of a project. All right, so I hope this is clear, guys, sa ano natin okay, let's go now to punta na tayo, guys, dito sa tapusin na natin tong remaining slides here. So just by way of review, guys, sabi natin na we said that si finance, si corporate finance, ang pang-fundamental principles niya, yung investment decision, financing decision, and the dividend decision. Pag sinabi natin investment decision, dapat pag nag-i-invest yung company in any assets, dapat yung return niya should be greater than the hurdle rate or the weighted average cost of capital. No? Okay? Sabi natin na yung return na yan is measured by the IRR. Pero i-qualify natin na dapat yung IRR consistent with NPV. If the IRR conflicts with the NPV, then dapat si NPV prevails, yung net present value, and not the IRR. But generally, guys, okay, the general rule is that the return of the project should be greater than the cost of getting capital. Okay, yung financing decision naman, guys, we have to determine ano ba yung optimal capital structure. Ano ba yung capital mix? Ilang percent ba ng debt at ilang percent ng equity? And finance has to be able to determine ano yung optimal mix na to. And what should be the basis of this? What's the best optimal capital structure? Answer, guys? Ano yung optimal capital structure? Is it 50-50? If it's not 50-50, what is the optimal capital structure? Pakichat nga, please. We answered that question before, guys. So what's the optimal capital structure? Okay, thank you, Jillian. Okay, so it's the one that will maximize shareholder value. That's correct. So the optimal capital structure is the capital structure or capital mix that optimizes shareholder value. Okay, so best mix of debt and equity, thank you, Liam. But qualify natin, ang best mix is the one that maximizes shareholder value. Okay, so this is the optimal capital structure. Lastly, guys, the dividend decision. Sabi natin, based on yung net income ng company, it can either decide to flow it back to the operations of the company. So that will be your retention rate, or a certain percentage will be distributed as dividends. That will be your dividend payout ratio. So finance is responsible for determining ilan ba, ano kaya yung magandang percentage ng profit ng company na i-return sa shareholders in the form of dividends. Kasi sabi natin, may magandang signal din, guys, no? The dividend decision of a company gives a very strong positive signal. A company that provides dividends to its firms signals profitability, signals stability of the firm, and that can lead to a perception that the company is performing well. So it will, lalo na pag traded sa stock market, ano nangyayari? Positive vibes, good news. Okay, so investors may look at the idea of investing in that company. So pag mas maraming gustong bumili ng company na yun, okay, ano nangyayari? This will affect the stock price of the company. Okay, appreciation ng stock price. So that's a dividend decision. Okay, so going to the next slide. So meron tayong tinatawag na corollary principles, no? Okay, aside from these three fundamental principles, meron din tayong other important principles or corollary principles like cash flow is king. We have discussed this kanina nga sa in-answer natin to na importante in evaluating projects, dapat ang ginagamit cash flow. Hindi natin ginagamit guys yung net income after tax to evaluate projects. Net income after tax has to be converted into cash flows. Second principle, the time value of money. Sabi natin na 1 peso today is not the same as 1 peso after in the future. Kaya nga hindi natin pwedeng i-add yung mga cash flows guys. We will have to use time value of money principles in order to add them. Kailangan kukunin natin equivalent niya on a specific time frame. And then the risk and return principle. Yung isang question natin doon, si firm A, well-established, okay, many years in the business. Si firm B, bagong pasok lang sa industry. Okay, pareho sila nangangailangan ng 100 million, so pareho silang uutang. Pareho ang term, 10 years, 10 years for A, 10 years for B. One issued a bond of 7%, the other issued a bond of 8%. So ang tanong natin, sino nag-issue ng bond ng 8%? Okay, ceteris paribus, all things being equal, it was firm B that issued 8%. Bakit? Kasi investors would appraise firm B as more risky. Kasi siguro konti pala yung track record niya. Samantalang si firm A, subok na nagbabayad ng utang yan. Subok na sa performance. Okay? So lesser risk dun sa firm A compared to firm B. So I was looking for that term guys, and although iba kinonsider ko na yung answer, although missing yung concept na yun, yung less risk. Si firm A is less risky. Therefore, investors in firm B will require a greater amount of returns. Kasi it's very consistent with the fundamental principle of finance that the higher the assumed risk, the higher will be the required return. Kung pareho sila nag-issue ng 7% bond, malamang sa malamang guys, walang magiging taker si firm B. Kasi bakit ka pupunta doon? Di ba? Eh, si firm A, nag-aalok din ng bond ng 100 million. Okay? Parehong 10 years, guys. Parehong semi-annual. Okay? So, bakit ka pupunta doon sa kay firm B? Doon ka na kay firm A. Kasi mas sigurado pa, di ba? Mas sigurado mababayaran ka. Lesser yung risk. Lesser yung risk, tapos same returns? Obviously, guys, a rational investor will choose firm A. So that may mga investors din kay firm B, magbibigay siya ng premium. Kasi mayroong additional risk. So since may additional risk, there has to be a premium added to the return. Kaya nag-add ng 1%, kaya naging 8%. Para may fighting chance siya na makakuha ng investors in the form of bonds. Okay? The fourth principle, guys, market forces. Ano yung market forces na yan? Pag tinignan natin stock market, yung price na naka-reflect dyan already includes the information, all information, relevant information about that company. Okay, so yun tinatawag na market forces or efficient market hypothesis. Okay, this is very important. Kasi kung hindi efficient yung market, anong ibig sabihin nun? We cannot rely on the stock price. Okay? Ulitin ko yung example. So, pag efficient market, guys, required yung mga companies na mag-disclose ng any information. Kunyari, when Jollibee acquired Coffee Bean, nung in-acquire ni Jollibee si Coffee Bean, required sila na bago mangyari yun, i-disclose nila. Para alam ng mga investors dun sa market, okay, dun sa market na yun, in our case, stock market, yung PSE, very strict sila sa disclosure, no? Sa pagbigay ng information para maging level yung playing field. Para hindi lang na may mga special parties lang na magkakaroon ng ganung information. Pag may ganun guys, may ganung scenario, mahirap kasi nobody will trust the market. Kasi may mga favored pala na may nepotism pala sa market na yun. Merong nauunang magkaroon ng ganung klaseng information. Merong na di-disclose muna dun sa iba kaysa dun sa iba. So that does not level the playing field and that means that that market is not efficient. Pag sinabing efficient, disclosure, information flows through easily to all parties. Meron silang access to information. Kasi, di ba, information is key. Pag meron tayong ganung information, then we will be able to make sound decision. Without that vital information, hindi natin alam kung ano yung magiging decision natin. Okay? So, I hope that's clear, guys. So, if the information is given, no, kasi the PSE will require that any moves like that, kailangan masabi muna yan sa public. No? So, pag kunyari, inano ni Jollibee, kinommunicate nila that they have plans, no, to acquire Coffee Bean at this ganto date, etc., etc. So ngayon, yung mga investors or would-be investors, meron silang, they're armed with that information para para mag-decide kung mag-i-invest sila sa Jollibee, either as new investors or as parang mag-a-add sila ng additional shares of stock. Okay? So based on that information, guys, magde-decide yung mga investors. So maaapektuhan na naman yung supply and demand. Kung maraming gusto bumili, maraming orders because based on that information, okay? Maraming orders because based on that information. So maaapektuhan yung price ng Jollibee. Okay? So yung price ng Jollibee, guys, reflects already the market forces, yung information na na binigay niya. Okay? So tumaas yung price ni Jollibee because of greater demand based on the information. So I hope you get it, guys. That's what we mean by efficient market hypothesis. May iba't ibang levels yan, but I want you to already on your own, yung semi-strong, no? Semi-weak. Okay? So you can look at that, guys. Marami namang references kayo makikita. Yung efficient market hypothesis. Okay? So lastly is the agency problem. We have discussed this before. Sabi natin that yung business conditions ngayon have some peculiarities in the sense that ang nagmamanage kayo ng mga businesses are professional managers and not necessarily the owners. Kasi ngayon marami na rin owners. Kunyari, listed sa stock exchange, maraming shareholders yan. So it's not possible for all the shareholders to manage the firm. Imagine, kunyari 1 million shareholders. Paano magkakaroon ng unanimity dun sa decision na yan? So, siguro, panay debate yan sa some will say, ay hindi, wag yang gawin. Some will say, ay hindi ganito yung gagawin dapat. So, because of that, guys, meron professional managers and there's this temptation for professional managers to decide based on their interest and not the interest of the shareholders. Kaya nga papasok dito yung role ng BOD, Board of Directors, to ensure that this decision of the professional managers will not be inimical to the interest of the shareholders. Okay? So yung limang yan, okay? So let's just take a look at this quickly. No? Sa cash is king, sabi natin, sa cash flows, bigger is better. Siyempre, cash inflows, pag mas malaki siya, mas maganda. Sooner is better, ito yung sinasabi natin. The sooner we get the cash flows, the better. And then, less risk is better. Okay, so kunyari, nanggagaling yan sa yung returns yan, nanggagaling sa isang market na unstable, di ba? So masyadong malaki yung risk na makukuha natin yung returns na yan or yung cash flow na yan. As compared to a very stable market. So pag stable kasi yung market, guys, the inflows of cash will be less prone to risk, no? Less prone to market risk. As compared, kunyari, to isang emerging market. Bagong-bago yung market na yan. Tapos project tayo ng cash flows sa year 5. Medyo risky yun kasi hindi pa naman natin alam talaga kung paano magpe-play out yung market forces. Baka pagdating ng year 5, nag-close na yung market na yan. Di ba? As compared to, let's say, well-established industries. Kunyari, telcos, no? Siguro naman hindi dadating unless may bagong technology na hindi na natin kailangan yung cellphone. I don't know kung pwede. Kunyari, via cloud na lang. So isisigaw mo na lang sa cloud. Okay, call 917, etc., etc., etc. Imagine kung gano'n na yung technology. No? So voice activated siya. So nakaano sa cloud yung voice ko. So isisigaw ko na lang, guys, into space. No? Imagine yung ganong technology. So, may voice activation na, ibig sabihin, the system, the cloud, can detect my voice. Tapos alam niya na it's different from your voice. So grabe siguro algorithm na gano'n. Maybe. Siguro biglang wild, ano lang yan, wild guess, ano. So sasabihin ko, Bob Bailon, my name, ID number 123. So mare-recognize na ng ng system sa cloud, no. Tapos call 917-1111, gano'n. Tapos malilink na ako doon. Tapos doon sa party, biglang, I don't know, no? Siguro may device ako na doon papasok yung call, makakapag-communicate na ako. Or maybe through space din. Medyo wild naman yata yung ganong klaseng ano. But yung internet naman, dati, noong 1990s, akala wild yan eh. But internet has really made inroads. This morning nga pala, may nakita akong cartoons, no? I don't know if you're familiar with Archie. 1999 yung cartoons na yun. Alam niyo ba yung cartoons, ano sinasabi? Kino-compare, 1999 yung guys, ha? Tapos yung isang student, kinakausap yung mother niya. Ang sabi ng student, ang ganda talaga ng ano namin ngayon kasi this is just schooling from home, I don't need to go to school. Tapos parang may internet, may ano siya, computer siya. Tapos andun, may monitor, etc., etc. Tapos sabi ng parents, grabe yung ano ngayon, ang swerte ng mga students kasi hindi na sila magdadala ng mga libro, wala na physical, ganyan. 1999, guys. Fast forward 20 years later. 2019, 2020, ano nangyari, guys? Natawa nga ako kasi grabe napaka-prophetic. That was a very wild idea noong 1999, ha? Wala pa tayong tinatawag na distance learning. Wala pa yung ganyang klaseng technology. But look at where we are now. What's happening to us here? I'm here in Antipolo ngayon sa parents' house ko. Nasaan kayo? Yung iba siguro nasa probinsya. Yung iba nasa Metro Manila. Yung iba nasa Kamanava, nasa Calabar Zone, etc. No? And yet we're able to conduct this lesson, this discussion. Di ba? And back to my example, so kunyari yung technology niyon, yung industry niyon is really stable. Okay, so yung risk ng cash flows doon, syempre lower as compared to the risk of the cash flows coming from a emerging industry. So sabi natin, the less risk, the better. Okay, so let's continue. Clear to, guys? Clear tong all about cash flow is king. Bigger is better, sooner is better, less risk is better. Pause muna ako, clear ba yun? Okay, thank you. Yung iba, sana makita ko yung okay, thank you. Dalawa pa lang, sana maka 25 man lang ako ngayon na nag-reply. Yan, thank you. Yan, thank you. Thank you sa lahat, guys. Okay, I'm kasi ako nare-reinforce ako, guys. When I see your feedback, ibig sabihin I'm getting across. That would be the day, guys, na salita ako ng salita dito tapos I'm way over your head pala. Ang layo-layo na, hindi niyo na ako nakukuha. So, I will really appreciate you answering kung ano yung feedback or asking questions, no? If you have questions to ask. Okay, thank you. All right, next slide. Okay, binalikan lang natin tong cash is king. Okay, sabi natin principle number 1, cash flow is what matters. Mali yata yung pagkalagay ko ng slide nito. Dapat yata dito to. Okay. Cash flow is what matters. Now, accounting profit, net income after tax is not cash flow. Tandaan yan, guys, no? So pag binigyan kayo ng net income after tax, pag pinapa-evaluate sa inyo, sabihin nyo, kailangan natin i-convert yan sa cash flows. Because as we know, cash flows is what drives the value of the business. Cash flow is king. And let me reiterate that, guys. Why cash? Kasi everything transactionally is in cash. We get funds in cash. Okay? Whether it's from debtors, from debt, or from equity. And these parties, these investors, require cash then in return. Okay? So it's all about cash. It's the language of business, guys, yung cash na to. It's what drives the value of business. So ano tong incremental cash flow? Yung incremental cash flow, it only means, guys, okay, so, sorry, sinulat ko na to dito, ah. So, for example, in a particular year, kunyari year number 5, meron tayong outflow na 3,000. Outflow siya, naka-parenthesis siya. Meron tayong inflow na 10,000. Okay, ang importante lang sa atin dyan yung net. Okay, yung incremental cash flow. So you don't need to analyze this individually, yung 3,000 tsaka 10,000. As far as the whole project is concerned, what we need is the incremental cash flow. That's 3,000 negative, 10,000 positive. So that's 7,000 positive. Ito ring relevant sa atin. This one tells us net income after tax has to be converted into cash flows. Okay? So I hope this is clear, guys. Yung cash flow is king. Okay, second, yung time value of money. Sabi natin na 1 peso today is worth more than 1 peso in the future kasi yung interest natin, mag-i-earn pa rin ng interest yan. So if we have 1 million now, we can put it in an investment. Tapos, habang yung interest natin dyan nag-earn, yung interest natin on the 1 million will earn interest. Interest on interest on interest. That's what we call the compounding factor. We're going to discuss that when we go to the time value of money. Okay, so that's better than getting 1 million after 1 year. Okay, so this is the basic principle. Money has time value or the time value of money. Okay, risk and return principle. Sabi natin, rational investors. Take note, I said rational. No? Kasi ang assumption natin, investors are rational. Ibig sabihin ng rational, ginagamit nila yung utak nila. No? Okay, rational investors. Pero meron tayong another aspect, guys, yung tinatawag na behavioral finance. No? Behavioral finance. So this is an offshoot of finance. Okay? Ang sinasabi dito, guys, na behavioral finance tells us that investors are not necessarily rational. Okay, so may ganung angle, guys. Okay, very interesting field ng behavioral finance. So it tries to study why investors behave that way. Bakit kung titignan mo, parang illogical yung galaw ng mga investors. No? Ba't nila ginagawa yun? Okay? So that's against the rational investor principle. Okay? So may conflicting concepts dito. But for us, guys, we'll stick to the rational investor first. So ang sinasabi ng rational investor theory, kasama dito yung risk and return principle. Investors will only invest, guys, if they will be compensated for the risk that they're assuming. Okay. Kaya yung kanina, guys, si firm A at saka si firm B, kung pareho silang firm A long standing na sa market, has been there for decades, stable, garantisado yung performance. Si firm B bago lang, okay? Pareho silang nangutang, 100 million at 10 years, payable in 10 years. If firm B will issue a bond worth 7%, vis-a-vis 7% din si firm A, malamang sa malamang, guys, baka wala mag-invest kay firm B. Doon sila kay firm A. Doon sila mag-i-invest. Okay? Kung nag-invest sila sa firm B, mag-ready na sila na i-explain sa shareholders, no? Or sa board kung bakit ganun yung ginawa nila. Okay? Kasi we operate on this concept of risk and return principle. Okay? Willing tayo na kumuha, mag-assume ng greater amount of risk for as long as we are compensated for that. Okay? A rational investor will do that. Pero minsan hindi ginagawa yun kasi nga meron tayong tinatawag na behavioral finance theory na investors are not really rational. No? May mga pinanggagalingan niya na mindsets that will make them behave against yung rational behavior. Okay? Alright. So, third principle natin, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, market prices are generally right. Ibig sabihin, naka-reflect na dun sa sa price yung lahat ng information available sa market. Okay. Ito sinasabi. The prices of traded assets like stocks and bonds reflect already all available information about the asset. So ito na yung EMH, guys, no? Okay, you may wish to look this up, guys, and maraming discussion ito sa internet. EMH, Efficient Market Hypothesis. Okay, although guys, may ibang nagsasabi na, oops, hindi totoo yan, no? Markets are not really that efficient. Okay, and then, totoo naman guys, kasi kung titingnan natin yung lahat ng markets, no, globally, may mga markets talaga guys na based on their rules, talaga masasabi natin efficient talaga. Yung mga advanced na mga markets like sa US, sa Japan, sa Europe, talagang well-established yung mga nila. So there's really this strong investor confidence na yung market prices really reflect market information. So medyo mas mas mataas yung efficiency kumbaga. Sa Philippines, there was a time na nagkaroon ng mga problems sa insider trading, no? Yung yung insider trading, hindi dinidisclose ng kumpanya yung lahat, no? So may mga favored, may mga anak ng Diyos kumbaga in the vernacular, no? Nabibigyan ng ganitong information. So nakakapag-decide sila, no? Nakakapag-decide sila. It's called insider trading. Okay? Nakakapag-decide sila based on this insider trading. So lugi yung mga shareholders na hindi nabigyan ng ganung klaseng information. So may mga nauna na nakapag-decide ng ganun. So yung iba, minsan huli na nila nalalaman. Okay? Sabi nga natin, note there are inefficiencies in the market that may distort the prices. So if the price do not reflect really market information, then possible na may distortion yan. Kasi di ba sabi ko kanina, information leads to decision making. And decision making leads to changes in the stock price. Increase or decrease. So kunyari may news na, naku, baka maging bankrupt na yung company na to. Example lang let me just come up with the hyperbole. Kunyari yung news, wala namang magbibigay ng news na ganito, no? Na in 1 year's time, bankrupt na tong company na to. Ano gagawin ng mga investors? Siyempre, lahat yan magda-download, lahat yan magbebenta ng shares nila. So marami nagbebenta, okay, ang mangyayari yan, babagsak talaga yung stock price. So only those who are willing to, willing to really take the risk, bibilin yung stock price na yan, yung stocks na yan. Okay? Alright, so let's say, sabi nga natin dito, good decisions which are reflected in the communications of the company, good decisions which are reflected in ang mga sources yan, mga income statement, no? Pronouncements ng company, news, na kunyari, Jollibee will acquire Coffee Bean. So ano kaya yung magiging effect nun sa market? So depende yan sa investors kung if they will look at that positively or negatively. Sila yung bahala mag-assess ng information na yan. If they take it positively, ano mangyayari? Okay? There will be a greater demand for Jollibee shares. What will happen? That will jack up the stock price, no? Until it reaches its equilibrium. No? Okay, hanggang nag-balance na yung demand at saka supply. Yun yung equilibrium na yun. Okay, so this is the efficient market hypothesis. Very important principle sa finance. So sabi ko nga kanina, merong strong, semi-strong, tsaka weak efficient markets. No? So I recommend that you look into that. No? Okay, may binanggit ako dito na fundamental analysis. This is all about efficient markets. No? Pag efficient markets, guys, okay, saan manggagaling information natin? Dun sa pronouncement ng company, okay, dun sa mga declarations nila, which, if they're listed, guys, required sila na i-declare yun. Para lahat malalaman. Kasi lahat may access sa Philippine Stock Exchange. So nakalagay dun yung mga news about those companies. So bahala kayo as an investor, due diligence ng investor, kailangan talagang tumitingin sa mga news, no? Sa mga news ng ano. Yung iba, they subscribe, yung mga brokers, mga big investment houses, may subscription sila sa mga database, sa mga very powerful databases like Bloomberg, no? Kasi si Bloomberg, ang ginagawa niya, nagko-collate sila ng information. Tapos gumagawa din, may mga financial advisors din yan, na gumagawa sila ng forecast. So a company who is subscribed to Bloomberg, yung subscription ng Bloomberg, guys, So, mahal din yun. No? But they can make use of that. Para saan guys yung Bloomberg na bumili ng subscription company? Information. Because information is key. No? And that's what happens sa efficient market hypothesis. Information is available. Okay, yung iba naman hindi naniniwala. Ang sinasabi nila, yung fundamental analysis which takes a look at yung recorded na information, pronouncements, financial statements about what's happening to the environment, ang tawag dyan guys, fundamental analysis. Yung iba naman hindi naniniwala doon, ang paniniwala nila, you cannot extract prices from already past information. That's why you have to make use of trending. Diyan papasok yung technical analysis. So, pakita ko lang. Okay, so kanina diniscuss ko sa isang class. This is what technical analysis is all about. No? So, makakita kayo ng mga patterns, guys. So, ito yung mga ginagawa ng technical analysts or technicians. Pinoproject nila, nag-a-analyze sila, sasabihin nila kung bibili ka dapat o hindi based on movements. So, tinitingnan nila yung mga prices of the past. Okay, so may mga patterns sila na tinitingnan. So, based on these patterns, they will now be able to predict or forecast kung dapat ba kang mag-invest sa stock or wag muna. No? So, may mga ganyan guys. Bullish, ayan, may mga terms sila dyan. Bullish, pennant. Pennant kasi parang parang flag. No? You know, parang flag. No? Parang triangular flag. Ang tawag doon, pennant. Okay, so ang ano niya, ang trend, it takes the form of a parang triangle siya, no? Okay, and that's called a pennant. Tapos may mga iba pang patterns, no? Okay, yan ang ginagawa ng mga technicians. No? May rising wedge, so it's based on the pattern of the stock prices. Triangles, etc. Okay, so if you go into finance, guys, as a course later on sa college, then may subject kayo na ganyan. Talagang tinitingnan yung behavior ng mga stock prices. Ang tawag dyan, guys, technical analysis. So pareho to, guys, nag-a-analyze sila. Ang objective nila to come up with a recommendation whether to buy or to hold the stock. Iba yung methodology nila. Si fundamental analysis based on FS, income statement, balance sheet, reading ng market signals, no? Industry analysis, ano yung possible na mangyari sa industry na to. So this is called fundamental analysis versus technical analysis, yung pinakita ko kanina. Okay? So lastly guys, yung agency problem, sabi natin, kasi sa professional, sa ano nga yun, binanggit ko kanina na sa time natin ngayon, ang nag-manage talaga ng business, not these shareholders, kasi kunyari 1 million shareholders yan, paano nila ma-manage yung business? That's why the firm hires professional managers, and hopefully it will not do things that are inimical or destructive to the shareholders. Kaya nga, andyan yung purpose ng governance in the form of BOD, Board of Directors. Okay, we have discussed this. Okay, so ito, by way of summary guys, what we can say is that, number one, corporate finance, it's common sense. No? It's common sense. Bakit siya naging common sense? Wala namang earth-shattering guys kung ang principle natin, kukuha lang tayo ng investments na kung ang return niya is higher than the cost of getting the funds, yung weighted average cost of capital or yung hurdle rate. No? Dapat yung investments natin, yung return siya dapat mas mataas kaysa dun sa hurdle rate. Okay? Okay, tapos also note that ito importante yung pag-compute ng WACC, that the funding mix should have considered yung pinaka-best, no? Yung minimum. Okay, so, kunyari, nag-compute tayo ng funding mix, possible yon, na 12%, instead of 13%, using 13%, mas maganda na ang ginagamit natin yung 12%. Okay, it's better to find a funding mix which costs 12% instead of 13.5, 13%. Bakit? What if you have a project worth 12.5% yung return niya? Kung ang ginamit natin is not really the optimal mix na 10%, na 13%, so ano gagawin natin sa decision na to? Reject the project. When in fact pala, ang mas optimal mix is 12%, which would have given us the decision to engage in this project. So you see how important the determination of the weighted average cost of capital is as a basis for deciding whether an investment is feasible or not. Okay, so ito naman yung dividends, guys. So ito yung investments, ito yung financing, ito naman yung dividend decision. Everything is common sense. Okay? So kunyari, kapag yung investment opportunities natin will generate less than your cost of funding, ibig sabihin yung mga investment opportunities natin, based on our computation, it will not return, give returns higher than the hurdle rate. Adi, huwag ka mag-invest doon. Pag may excess cash, maybe it's better to return this to the shareholders. Okay, so that's what this is telling us in dividend decision, which is also related to investment at saka financing decision. Okay, so kailan magre-return ng cash in the form of dividends? Pag wala tayong nakikitang good potential as a business opportunity, maybe some of it could be returned to shareholders in the form of cash, because I know I've said this, I'll say it again, because dividends issued to shareholders give a very positive, strong signal in the market. At alam naman natin na finance, it's a combination of rational behavior and also irrational exuberance, or what we call dun sa field ng financial behavioral finance. Okay? All right, so okay, aside from the fact that it's common sense, sabi natin kanina, di ba, corporate finance is common sense. Corporate finance is also focus. Ano yung focus? Singular objective, maximize shareholder value. While it may be true that a company should also look into the stakeholder value maximization, still, guys, ang primary focus should be shareholder value maximization. Kasi the company might be constrained, no? Ang hirap din kaya tingnan lahat ng objectives. So primarily shareholder value maximization, and then you can also consider secondary yung other stakeholders. For as long as walang major na possible na let's say negative impact sa other stakeholders. Okay, so ang ibig sabihin niyan, if you're just maximizing shareholder value, dapat tamang decision rule, no? Tamang decision rule. Dapat yung business opportunities, yung hurdle rate nila, yung return should be greater than the hurdle rate. Right mix of debt din dapat. Tapos right amount of cash to be returned as dividends. So ito, guys, no? It is focused on this objective. So not only is it common sense, corporate finance is also focused sa investment, sa financing, at saka sa dividend decision. And thirdly, guys, it is universal. Ano ba yung universal? Maliit ka man ng negosyo, malaki ka man, global ka man, o nasa isang bansa ka lang, public ka man, ibig sabihin, public, traded ka sa stock market, or private ka man, ibig sabihin, hindi ka traded sa stock market, mature ka man, matagal ka na sa industriya, or matagal man yung industry na ginagalawan ng company, or it might be an emerging market, bago-bago market siya. Anywhere you are, guys, you have to make these three decisions: investing, financing, and dividend decisions. It is a universal principle. Okay? Maaari nagkakaiba yung objective ng finance, pero iisa pa lang din yung primary objective niyan, no? Maximizing shareholder value. Whether you're a big firm or a small firm, nasa US ka, nasa Pilipinas ka, nasa global ka, guys, still, primary objective, maximization of shareholder value. Okay? It's universal, guys. Okay. So sabi dito guys, na pwede may mga constraints and challenges. Maaaring magkakaiba dramatically across firms. But still, these fundamental principles do not change. Okay, maaaring ang publicly traded firm, pwedeng yung cost of capital niya mas maliit kasi may malaking access sa capital markets. No? Or mas diverse yung investor base niya. Pwedeng mas mababa yung cost of capital niya kaysa sa isang private business, okay? Na mas malaki yung interest rate nila, mas malaki yung cost of debt nila, mas malaking cost of equity nila. So mas malaking weighted average cost of capital niya. Still guys, parehong principle lang. Kailangan hahanapin yung financing mix na mami-minimize yung cost of capital. Okay, parehong principle yon. Whether publicly traded or privately traded. Isa pa guys, whether the company is in an emerging markets, so maraming uncertainty, okay, or nasa developed market na siya, ano pa rin yung inaano nila? Ano pa rin yung same investment decision? Engage in projects where the returns are higher than the hurdle rates or the weighted average cost of capital. Okay. All right. As a last slide, guys, pakichat nga, guys. Sino sa inyo na-meet nyo na itong term na to? Yung VUCA. Honestly, guys, in your previous class, have you met this term? Pakichat na lang, guys, para alam ko rin. Have you met this term, yung VUCA? VUCA principle. Okay, good. Thank you. No? Thank you so much, guys, for your feedback. Now, ano ba yung VUCA? This is a very interesting concept. No? Nowadays, guys, yung businesses face, ito yung business environment ngayon. Volatile yung market, napaka-uncertain, napaka-complex, napaka-ambiguous. No? Kumbaga, ang hirap ma-spell, ang hirap maintindihan. Yung velocity ng change ng technology, ang bilis. Okay, ano ibig sabihin ng volatile, guys? Fast, unpredictable changes, uncertainty, hindi natin alam kung ano mangyayari in the future. No? You cannot really forecast what will happen 2 years from now, 2 years from now. Dati guys, pag pinapa-forecast yung mga businesses, 5 years, even 10 years, 20 years, ganun, they can do that. Kasi hindi naman ganun ka-uncertain or volatile yung market. Now, wala na ako masyadong makikita na nag-project ng 5 years. 3 years, may nakikita pa ako. Pero 5 years, kasi nga, because of this volatility, uncertainty. Complexity, guys, ang dami ng mga complex na yung market ngayon, no? Intertwined na siya. Case in point. Yung industry, guys, medyo dati very clear yung boundaries. Kunyari, yung mga cable car producers, cable channel providers, at saka yung telecommunications. Okay? Ngayon hindi na, guys. Meron ka ng cable company, kunyari si Sky, na nasa telecommunications na rin, nagpo-provide na rin ng services that's provided by telecommunications. Pati si telecoms, nagpo-provide na rin ng services ng cable companies. So wala na nagiging hazy na, unclear na yung market. So that's what complexity means. Hindi mo na alam kung sino talaga yung competitors nyo. Ngayon, may mga competitors ka na dati from a different industry. Okay? So ngayon, nag-merge na yung mga markets. So that makes really competition very complex, no? And ambiguous. Little clarity on what is real or true. Ang hirap mag-predict. Okay? So I would like you to read on this, guys, no? That's a very interesting topic, no? Tapos ngayon, pakitinan nga sa internet, Paki-chat nyo lang, guys. Meron na tayong tinatawag na VUCA 2.0. Could you kindly put in the chat box ano yung VUCA 2.0 na yan? VUCA 2.0. So ito noong mga 1990s to, no? Middle 1990s tong VUCA na to. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity in the market. So may mga example dito, guys, na nakalagay, no? And you can look at other examples. Thank you, Liam, no? So sabi ni Liam, ito guys yung antidote daw sa VUCA 2.0. In order to address yung volatility, kailangan may vision yung company. Okay? For example, J&J, it would be good guys to look at the vision and mission statements of companies. Kasi employees there could derive inspiration kung saan talaga papunta. If you take a look at Johnson & Johnson's, let me just quickly guys pakita ko lang, no? So, ito daw yung vision daw, Johnson and Johnson's mission and vision statement, no? Tingnan natin yung vision statement nila. Okay? Kasi nasa baby care products, no? Okay. Matagal na tong mission and vision na to, no? Up to now, yung pa rin talagang what they are all about. Asa na siya? Okay, so pakita ko lang guys yung ayan ha. Ayan, kaso saan ba yan? Dapat it would be good for you to yan. Ayan. Look at their credo. This is parang ito na yung vision nila, no? We believe our first responsibility is to the parents, doctors, nurses, to mothers, again. In meeting their needs, everything we do must be of high quality, consistently strive to provide value, reduce our costs, and maintain reasonable prices. Customers' orders must be serviced promptly and accurately. Our business partners must have an opportunity to make a fair profit. Looks like yung Toyota, no? We are responsible to our employees. So ito, guys, may word sila about their employees. We are responsible to the communities. No? We are responsible to the stockholders. Okay, so it's a very powerful statement. No? So ito, parang guiding principle to ng Johnson & Johnson's, that no matter what, guys, no matter what the circumstances are, kahit na meron tayong volatility sa market, if they stay true to their mission, their vision, their credo, then yung panglaban yun dun sa volatility. Okay? So ang panlaban naman daw sa uncertainty, understanding. Ang panlaban sa complexity, courage. And then ambiguity, adaptability. Okay? So I'm out of time, guys. I have 3 minutes lang. I want you to read on this, guys. Ang ganda ng VUCA versus VUCA 2.0. Okay, sa exam nyo, guys, most probably, guys, I'm going to ask this. All right, so just 2-3 minutes, guys, to start this. Gusto ko lang simulan to para pareho tayo ng kabilang section. Pinost ko na tong 2 slides na to, guys. So PDF slide siya, guys, na not in handout but in slide form, kasi may nag-request sa inyo kung pwedeng kasi hindi daw makita yung slide form. If you take a look at a finance organization, guys, ito usually makikita natin sa hierarchy, no? Organization structure nila. Of course, all the management team will report to the board of directors. Tapos CEO dito. Sa ibang companies, meron ibang C-suite, no? May CMO, ito yung diniscuss natin dito, Chief Marketing, Chief Information, Chief Talent Officer, etc. But in others, yung under CEO, andito na yung Marketing, Operations, etc. Then under CFO, andito yung mga pagkaperahan, no? Accounting, Treasury, etc. Okay, so this is just an example about corporate structure. Okay, so tingnan muna natin, guys, yung unang topic natin is markets. Okay, ano ba yung markets? Markets are, financial markets in particular, these are places, whether virtual or physical, where financial instruments are bought and sold. Okay? So buyers and sellers participate in the trade of the assets, whether it be stocks, bonds, currencies, derivatives, whatever financial instruments, guys, that's where these people meet, these parties meet. So, ang markets usually, guys, they have a very good mechanism. May mga regulations doon. Okay? May transparent yung pricing. So walang minimize yung dayaan kung meron man, no? So costs are lower sa mga markets, no? And what determines the prices are the market forces, yung law supply and demand. So this is a characteristic of a market, an efficient market, guys, no? Dito pumapasok yung EMH natin, efficient market hypothesis. Okay, also it's very important to the economy kasi sabi nga natin yung market nag-react to information. And then dapat transparent yung information, dapat it's given to all, no? And then investors will know where to allocate resources, and ultimately it will determine prices. Sabi natin yung share price is dependent on yung demand and supply ng price na yan. Saan ba nagdidepende yan, yung supply and demand? Dun sa mga information na nakukuha ng mga investors. Okay? So several examples of markets: money, capital, securities, primary and secondary market. Tingnan natin to next meeting. Okay, so ang role ng financial markets, nag-offer siya ng liquidity. Ito yung sinabi ko kanina, no? Information. No? And then also, it helps in mitigating against risk. Okay, check ko lang yung time. Okay, it's already time, guys. So next meeting, yung kabilang section, umabot kami hanggang slide 11, tayo hanggang slide 6 lang. So kung pwede, guys, pakibasa to, ha. And then ang target natin next meeting, siyempre dapat matapos na natin lahat to. So ito na yung financial intermediaries, financial institutions, and financial instruments and the markets. Okay? So I hope you learned something today, guys. We'll call it a day. Okay, natuto ba kayo? Paki-chat na lang, guys. Did you learn something today? Gusto ko lang, guys, ng immediate feedback from you. Okay, thank you. Okay lang naman yung pace natin sana, no? So thank you, guys, and please keep safe. To those of you, okay, yung magpapacheck ng attendance, guys, remain na lang. Okay, so I'll just end the recording.